practices in marketing. Blog, post, tweet, repeat. How social marketing can work for you. And now, here's Lori Stutzman, President of Extra Mile Marketing.
Today we're going to talk about social marketing. We're going to talk about what it is, what it's best for, how to use it, and what you need to get started. So let's get going. First, we get asked all the time, what is social marketing? And all it really is the process of gaining attention or website traffic from your social media connections. It does help you create a sense of community through forums or posts or blogs or other interest groups. And it allows you to be both an influencer and be influenced by others. So why bother using social media? One of the things that I found, a statistic that I found that was incredible, is that 60% of LinkedIn users have clicked on an ad on that site. And I have never seen a statistic as high as that, 60%. So should you be somewhere in LinkedIn? Absolutely, I hope that you are. The next stat, which I don't 100% buy that anything is 100% of people, but this is the most recent research from Forrester, and it came out that 100% of business decision makers are using social media for work purposes. And whether or not you buy the 100% stat or not, you know that the number is pretty high. So what is B2B, different than business to consumer, B2B, social marketing good for? So first, it sets you up as a subject matter expert. It allows you to write about the things that your customers or prospects might be curious about or need information on. So things like, how do I set up a new link user? Or something more complicated like, what's the best practices around cloud security? It also helps you build awareness for your company. So as you're making those posts and as you're answering questions, it does help get your company name out there. So it really does level that playing field between you and your large competitors. It's also really good for customer service and support. So hearing what people's issues are and being able to respond right away, it's a great use for that. It's also really good for you to listen. So if you listen in your social media, you'll get all kinds of new ideas for improving and growing your own businesses. It also is great for deepening your existing relationships with leads. So you can, as you get a lead in the system, you can start nurturing that lead through social media. And then finally, it's really great for hiring. So we use social media almost exclusively when we're hiring a senior person in our office, because we want to know that that person has come from a referral from somebody that we know or is in our circle of friends. So we work with about 7,000 partners worldwide at Extra Mile, and these are some of the best practices that we've seen around the world of how partners are using social media. So they're really good at starting and leading user groups. But if you're new to social marketing, I would say that you should, instead of starting a user group, join user groups, infiltrate that group, and really start having a conversation within that group. Go to where your customers and prospects are versus having them come to you. The other rule of thumb is if you're going to get really involved in social marketing, you've got to come up with a lot of content. That can be sort of daunting. So there's this 80-10-10 rule of social marketing. 80% of your content can be repurposed. It can be from industry-specific forums. It can be interesting articles that you've read that then you repurpose or resend out. 10% needs to be original content. So if you're really going to be a SME or a subject matter expert, 10% needs to come from yourself. And 10% can be interesting posts that you make on other people's content. So that's okay to use that as part of your repertoire. Social media marketing is very good for recruiting, like I mentioned. It's also really good for promoting new products or events that might be coming up. It's also great for gauging the social environment. So when new products and services are out there, what are people thinking about it, and what can you do to make sure that you have the best offer out there? And then it's really great for you to build your reputation with testimonials, with customer reviews, and with rankings out there. And I know there's a lot of partners that get kind of nervous about that part of it, but the reality is, even if somebody says something negative about you or gives you a negative ranking, if you always respond to a negative post, you can really turn that into a positive, because it shows you care, you're out there listening, and you're going to take some action based upon those negative posts. And there's always people out there that post things negative. Everyone knows that. So it can kind of, that really doesn't necessarily have to impact you as long as you're responsive to it. So effective avenues. So I mentioned what we recommend, particularly for getting started, is that you go where your customers and prospects are versus trying to get them to come to you. And this is some really great new research from Forrester about where people are using social marketing for business purposes. The number one way that they're using social marketing is with independent communities. So those might be things like the industry-specific communities that are out there. So for example, you have a product that's really good for the insurance industry, and you go to the insurance industry blogs and webs and forums, and you participate there. That's where 81% of your leads might come from. And then vendor-supported forums. So those are things like the Microsoft forum, where people are out there and they're asking Microsoft questions about Microsoft products. So you can go there and you can participate there and give people answers to their questions as well and set yourself up as an expert. The next highest ranking is LinkedIn. So 74% of businesses are using LinkedIn for business. And that's a great way for you to get more involved with the people that you're already connected with. A lot of you out there are in that category of the 500 plus connections on LinkedIn, but you're not really tapping into that. So that's a good way to go out there. Twitter, about 42% of businesses are paying attention to Twitter. And for Facebook, while the number of people that use Facebook is very high, only 39% of businesses are using it for business. And I'd venture a guess that most of that is business to consumer stuff. So if you stay with the top three, if you're getting started, if you stay with those top three, you're probably going to get your best results. So LinkedIn is kind of a no-brainer. It's our company's recommendation that everybody have a LinkedIn profile, and hopefully you already have a company page set up. You want to make sure that you're linking in with prospects and customers, also your employees and your vendors. A lot of you tell me that the majority of the way that you get business is through referrals. And it's when somebody leaves one company and then they move to the next company. Well, if you're linked in with everybody, you get an alert when they move to the next company. So you can be proactive about those referrals and say, hey, I saw that you moved to company X, and could we come in and talk with you while you're there, right? It's a great way to get new leads. And then you might want to consider paid ad placement. So you saw the statistic that 60% of people have clicked on a LinkedIn ad. So a paid placement makes a lot of sense there. You can participate in groups, join them, participate, add content, and then you can also follow your clients and your prospects through LinkedIn and see what's new going on in their company. So when you have conversations with them, it's really relevant. A lot of partners lately have been asking us about blogs. Why should I have a blog? And kind of a blog is the newsletter of a few years ago, and people have switched out from newsletters to blogs. And blogs can be very effective. So they're really good for, again, establishing your expertise. And it's also good for bringing visitors to your website, which does help increase your search engine ranking. So that's a really good connection there. It also introduces readers to your company if they haven't seen you. And it does help you infiltrate social media. And then there's some just interesting, one of the interesting stats I thought was that 81% of US consumers trust advice and information from blogs. So I don't know if that's really a good stat. I don't know if I would want people to trust everything they read in a blog, but the reality is if you do take the time to have a blog, people will read it and 81% of them will trust your content. So then you want to consider, is a blog right for you? And there is some downsides to doing a blog. So a blog implies that you're going to be consistent, that you're going to be out there on a regular basis. And if you're not prepared for that, then I don't recommend that you do a blog. Because the reality is if you're inconsistent about your new content and you're unresponsive to people that post about your content, what does that say about you? Does that say that maybe, when it gets tough or when you get busy that you might be unresponsive? You don't want to say that about your company. So then I would not recommend a blog if you're not prepared for that. And then also, how will you market your blog? So how will people even find it? I mean, that's really important too. If you're going to go to all this time and effort, you want to make sure that somebody's reading it. So there's a couple examples of great blogs that I think are out there. This first one is Seth Godin's blog. And for all of you people that are marketing people out here, this is a great blog for you to read. It's very interesting. It's very easy to navigate. They have all the archives there, and it gets a lot of attention for Seth. The second example is a blog called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And all of the blogs are all around how do you make money. So that's a pretty interesting blog as well, and a really popular one. So let's get started. The first thing I'd say is you want to download the Social Marketing Getting Started Guide, which has a lot more in it than I could cover. And then there's two websites that have really good information. There's a website called Hootsuite, and a website called TweetDeck. So if you want more information like what we've been talking about, that's a great place to go get some more. Next, I'd make a list of the groups and forums that your team should join, and then start going out there and joining them, and then brainstorm where your customers might be and think about how you can connect with those customers. So thanks so much for coming, and with that, happy marketing, and we hope to see you soon.